Hello, and welcome to today's virtual happy hour tour. I am Brenda Holt with the Arizona State Office of AARP. We are the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering people 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. With a nationwide presence, ARP strengthens communities and advocates for what matters most to families, to more than 100 million Americans 50 plus and their families, regarding health security, financial stability, and personal fulfillment. ARP also produces the nation's largest circulation publications, the AARP Magazine and the AARP Bulletin. During the months of November and December, ARP will focus to help you navigate the complicated healthcare system. Caregivers are frequently frustrated by their healthcare systems, from Medicare, insurance, and care coordination to inadequate healthcare staffing and medication management. We know helping your loved ones navigate their medical needs is hard. ARP is your wise friend, and we're here to provide support and guidance. We can also help assist with resources, expert content, and tools. Visit us at aarp.org/caregiving for more information. Thank you again, and I'll turn it over to Marshall.
Folks, welcome to the show. Get ready to meet your host for the night, Arizona's very own hip historian himself, Marshall Shore.
Well, hello and good evening. I want to welcome you all to Arizona History Happy Hour. I am so happy that you can be here tonight. We've got such a fun show for you this evening. I mean, after Thanksgiving. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Chris, Sarah. So happy to see you. Hope you all had an amazing Thanksgiving. And so, all right. So welcome everybody. I know some of you are watching on YouTube, Facebook, we've got Twitch going on. So all kinds of people watching in a variety of ways, which I think is really cool. And so today is November 30th. And there's a lot. So back in 1927 on this date, the Apache Trail between Phoenix and Roosevelt Lake was opened for tourists. Now it's State Route 88, but indeed better known as Apache Trail. That's an unpaved winding road through the Superstition Mountains in Arizona. It's known for its sheer drop-offs and super tight corners. Now, just because that road is open 27 to tourists, it has been in use for thousands of years by indigenous communities using it to get access either to the river or either from their summer to their winter homes along the Mogollon Rim. So, but in 2014, there were floods, fires, a rock slide that left about a 5-mile portion completely closed long term. So not quite sure when that's going to open, but it's still an amazing route to go take a look at. Now, also it is Moose Day. Now, that Dickon dessert that we all know is that really light, fluffy dessert. Now, the word term mousse is derived from French, meaning froth or foam. So it's basically egg whites and cream and more cream and more cream, which sounds oh so healthy. And you turn that into something light and fluffy. Now, it's mainly used as a dessert, but did you know it can also be served as a savory, like you've got salmon mousse, you've got a variety of those savory mousses as well. So go out and have a mousse today. Also, it is National Canning Day, Mason Jar Day. There have been ways of preserving food for centuries, but there was a young tinsmith back in New Jersey who came up with a way of making home canning safe. And on this date, back in 1858, came up with that whole idea of canning that revolutionized. I mean, growing up in the Midwest, lots of folks were out there canning. things from the gardens, pickles, jams, jellies, pretty much you name it. There you go. All that good stuff. So it is also Cybersecurity Day. As computers become more and more a huge part of our life, they get faster, more advanced. Also people out there being a little more devious are becoming more advanced as well. I know I regularly get things that I have to really kind of scrutinize just to take a look and make sure that it is not something false or someone trying to scam me out of something or getting me to log in on Facebook through a various way so that way they can hijack my account and do who knows what with it. So indeed, so it's a busy day, lots of fun stuff going on. So if you've not been to happy hour before, what can you expect? Well, we've got trivia, we have some music history coming up, we have Little Arizona, as well as a beverage. Now, right now, I'm sitting in a coffee shop in Sedona. And so, but we'll talk about that in just a moment when I get to the cocktail portion, because I just take a cocktail in. But all right, so my name is Marcia Shore, and I get to play with Arizona history. And so that's kind of the fun thing of being the hip historian is, getting ready for holiday markets. I just picked up some t-shirts for Mr. Lucky's. We have Kontiki, Bikini. I'm picking one up for Nikolai, who is a gender pioneer from 1906. We'll have those available at Festivus coming up in just a couple weeks on that Thursday and Friday on the 14th and 15th. As well as right after that, we have our December holiday kind of haunted history tour. So come on out and let's go walk around downtown and explore, talking about some of the history and some of the reason why there might be energies hanging out in some of those buildings. We also, coming up early next year, are doing Arizona Unzipped as part of the Orpheum birthday celebration. And so guess what? There will be cake. We just had a meeting and I was like, oh, please, let's do cake. And indeed, they're letting us have cake for the Orpheum's 95th birthday party. So that's going to be a lot of fun as well. Now, I see many of you have found the chat. You can also reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, email, or even my website, hiphistorian.com. So I love to hear from you all. And so, it would not be a happy hour without PJ chiming in. And so I'm sitting in a little coffee shop here in Sedona. And so what I did was I got a cup of coffee and he gave me a little thing to add to my coffee. So it's got a little bit of Jefferson Ocean bourbon, some Santan Spirits, Black Stills coffee liqueur, Orgeata, that almond liqueur, as well as some Starbucks chestnut praline. So it is super tasty and it's a little chilly up here, so I'm really enjoying the fact that it's keeping me warm. So now we get to talk about Little Arizona. And so we're going to talk about a little town called Bowie, Arizona, named for Fort Bowie. It's also right along the Apache Pass and was declared a historic site landmark in 1960. Now, the remains of Fort Bowie are well preserved, as well as there are some adobe walls that are really well preserved as well. As you walk around, you'll find the ruins of the Butterfield stage from when the stagecoach used to run through here. And then later in the 1880s, there was the Southern Pacific Rail was added. And it's nestled in just a beautiful scene. And, I think it's interesting because they actually found hot wells at one point. They were drilling for oil and they struck water, 106-degree water, 200 gallons of water per minute that still flows. It was a little stop off, and so you can still take a little dip in those mineral baths, as well as you can go visit a large teepee, which originally was known as Geronimo's Castle. Back in 1940s, it's been a Greyhound bus station, later a cafe, a filling station. It's been a little bit of everything. It's a little worn down now, but oh my gosh, it's still such a beautiful roadside attraction. Back when, there were more, like in not Williams, Holbrook, you got the concrete teepees that were a chain across the country. That was kind of a thing. As well as, you can walk around and find old hotels that have been preserved, which I think is really cool. And if you've ever seen any of the Rambo movies, you know, this is exactly where they say his character came from. So they do indeed have murals of Sylvester Stallone up for that 80s action figure, Rambo. All right. Well, now is a chance we get to hear from someone else other than just myself, because we always love to bring you special guests. And so I'm going to bring on my friend Monica.
Hi,
Hello,
Marshall.
Monica. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am great. It is so good to see you. And I love the fact you have the MacAlpine's bar behind you, or counter, I should say, not bar.
Mm-hmm.
So Monica, for folks who may not know where you are, tell us about where you are and who you are.
So MacAlpine's is an old-fashioned soda fountain and diner. We're located just north of downtown Phoenix. We're at 7th Street in Oak, so between McDowell and Thomas. And I can't tell you when we open because that's going to be a trivia question.
Thank you for not ruining that yet.
Yeah, but I can tell you that we have been closed and we're trying to get reopened. So we've been closed for 2.5 years, and we're working on that. We put together a GoFundMe to get things going again, and we're down here just working away and so excited to be bringing customers back.
Indeed, I know you just did pies for Thanksgiving, because I had a delightful blueberry pie.
We did make pies for Thanksgiving. We sold out. We'll make pies for Christmas. 2 weeks before Christmas, we'll open our store for shopping, and then we're selling gift certificates online. Because we've been closed for so long, we're just having a hard time getting everything together financially to reopen. But like I said, we're working really hard and very excited to welcome customers back.
Cool. So we've got a little bit of trivia coming up. Now here on Happy Hour, when we do trivia, it's a little bit differently than most places do trivia, because we're not so concerned with that you just know what the answer is, but we will also go into the story behind the answer. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the fun of it. And so let's start off with our first question. Now we'll go through the questions and then take a little bit of an Arizona music break, and then come back and talk about some of that fun stuff going on as well. All right. So first question, when did MacAlpine's first open? A, 1929, B, 1938, C, 2001, or D, 1928. So when do you think MacAlpine's first opened? All right, question 2. What was MacAlpine's originally? Was it A, a diner, B, a pharmacy, C, an antique shop, or D, an ice cream parlor? I think it's kind of operating as all of those right now. I mean, you got a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. Not a pharmacy. So it's not you're not dealing drugs out of there. I mean, legal drugs. Mm-hmm. All right. Question 3. What activities did MacAlpine sponsor? A, soapbox car racing, B, Little League, C, youth activities, or D, all of the above? That's a good question. All right. Question 4. What was the original pharmacy name when it opened in 1929? A, Birch's, B, Morris Zimmerman, C, Briscoe's, or D, MacAlpine's? All right, moving on to question 5. Who designed the addition to MacAlpine's building? Was it A, Ralph Haver, B, Al Beadle, C, Frank Lloyd Wright, or D, Lesher and Mahoney? Wow, those are all important names right here in the Valley of the Sun for architecture. All right, question 6. Who did they learn how to make pies from? Ooh, that's a very important question. Was it A, professor in Paris, B, an Amish lady, C, a Mennonite lady, or D, a cooking class right here? Hmm, we shall find out very soon. What food item is McAlpine's famous for? A 10-pound ice cream sundae, B, a dill pickle soda, C, homemade pie, or D, all of the above? Well, I know we've already talked about pie. I don't know if I'm intrigued by that pickle soda or not. That sounds interesting. All right, question 8. How did the naughty pecan come to be? A, an old family recipe, B, a customer recipe, C, ran out of ingredients, or D, Betty Crocker? Hmm, a naughty pecan by Betty Crocker. That sounds quite naughty. All right, question 9. Which powerhouse woman was regularly at McAlpine's? A, Joan Gans Cooney, B, Aunt Maud, C, Rose Mofford, or D, all of the above? Oh my gosh, I wonder which one of them it was. Hmm. All right. Oh, and question 10. Wow, Deb, here's a question for you. All right, question 10. Is McAlpine's haunted? Yes or no? Hmm. All right, because that's Deb and I's favorite question. And so, all right, so let's move on to a little bit of an Arizona music break. And so we are going to chance to talk about right around the corner over at Ziggy's Records up on 3rd Street, not far. Dwayne Eddy, known for the Rebel Rouser, Peter Gunn, because they were young. I mean, by 1963, he had sold 12 million records. He's been inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Emissions Hall of Fame. Now, he got here in the 50s, moved to Tucson, then to Coolidge, and at the age of 16, formed a little duo. They were playing at a radio. I know. I saw that and I was like, oh, dang, Chris is going to catch me on spelling Maud wrong. I didn't have my cocktail before, so that's probably why. And, so basically what they discovered was while he was at the radio station in Coolidge, that's where he met up with Lee Hazelwood, and they became a powerhouse duo, creating that twang heard round the world. So really rockabilly, that twang still can be heard today in so much old country, new country, rockabilly, a little bit of everything. So, I often wonder, since Dwayne Eddy would have been right around the corner from MacAlpine's, if he ever went there. All right. So now let's get ready for some answers. All right. So when did MacAlpine's first open?
So the answer is 1929. We were built in 1928, but didn't open until 1929. And in 1929, the Orpheum also opened.
Indeed, that beautiful theater.
That is a beautiful theater.
And what was MacAlpine's originally?
It was a pharmacy. It was a Rexall drug.
Oh, indeed, Rexall. That was a chain. You find those all over the country.
And in the photo, the one is the delivery vehicle they used. At one point, they had a bright pink Jeep, which we had a gentleman in the 1950s, maybe 60s, a bright Jeep, and he was quite embarrassed to be driving around with a bright pink vehicle. The other photo is kind of cool. It is a gentleman who, when he came in to see us, he was retired in Sun City. His name is Hal Bonham. He's the young man in his Derby car. And he had that photo. He was sponsored by McAlpine's for the Derby. In the background of that picture is Mr. McAlpine on the left. And Mr. Bailey was a pharmacist for years and years for Mr. McAlpine. And his son has been in contact with us recently, which is kind of cool.
Oh, that's so cool.
He had reached out and said that he had fond memories, and it was just really interesting to hear from all the people that had a history with McAlpine's.
That's great. You know, I love when people come back and carry on that family history.
Mhm.
All right. So, what activities did MacAlpine sponsor?
And the choices were soapbox derby, that is true. Youth activities, that is true. And with one other one,
And Little League.
and Little League, yes, and Little League. So did all. It's kind of cute in this.
Wow.
This is also a new photo acquisition for us. A customer reached out to us and sent us this picture. It's kind of interesting. MacAlpine does not spell correctly, which is very common because most people think it would be MC, not MAC. But Mr.
And
MacAlpine was very active in the community. One that he did that was really cute was he had raffles for bicycles. At one point, we had this lady who was about my age who had won a bicycle as a child, and she talked about how much it meant to her because her family couldn't afford to buy her a bicycle. It was just very exciting to win something like that. But I
right.
believe you Alpines, and when you bought things, you would get tickets to put in for bicycle, and some of the neighbors gave her their tickets, so she entered and was lucky enough to win.
Well, you know, and that was actually a really popular thing to do. Was I mean, it was like I've read stories about how like newspaper boys could, if they did enough work, they could win a bicycle. And so I think it was so important to be able to get, especially back when it was a much smaller city and you could really just bike right around. So
Mhm.
what fun that would have been. All right. What was the original pharmacy name when it opened back in 1929?
So it was Birch's 7th Street Pharmacy. They also had a pharmacy in Roosevelt, and they had this location for a few years, and they sold it to two gentlemen, Morris and Zimmerman. And then Mr. MacAlpine purchased it in 1938, and it became MacAlpine's. And we chose to keep the name, so it's been MacAlpine's ever since 1938.
Wow.
So it's kind of, there's a great photo of Mr. MacAlpine. A lot of people don't know what he looked like because there's so few photos of him around. So it's just an
Right.
interesting picture.
No, that's so cool to actually see what he looked like.
Mhm.
And still named after him even today.
Mhm.
All right. So who designed the addition to MacAlpines?
It is a firm called Lesher and Mahoney, who also designed the Orpheum. They designed the hotel, the hospital in Jerome, the chapel at Brophy, very, very long of different architectural designs done by them. But one of the hospitals was Frank Lloyd Wright. Frank Lloyd Wright was a customer, but not the owner of the building. And Mr. Mahoney, Leslie Mahoney, actually owned the building at one point. So he designed this. I think this might be a later question. We'll see. But Miss Leslie Mahoney designed the exterior of the building when we put it
Oh,
on. So what you see right there are the blueprints that we just received recently. We were really
oh, how
excited
cool is that?
to just receive those. I know, isn't that amazing?
Yeah, way back from 1928 to actually see what, oh, I guess the addition. When was the addition done?
1948.
Oh, wow. So yeah, I mean, Lesher Mahoney, I mean, did schools, did all kinds of
All kinds
commercial
of things.
buildings. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So question 6. Oh, and this is indeed another question. So what other buildings did they do? Lesher
The
Mahoney?
Orpheum. Mhm. The Orpheum.
Now I hope, you know, I hope everybody has been in because it's such a beautiful building. And so I think what's interesting is when you see old photos of the Orpheum, it used to have a blade. And so next year, that's what we're going to start raising funds for with the Orpheum is to put a blade back on the side of that building so that it'll be a vertical Orpheum, all lit up just like it would have been originally, which I think is really cool. They're still trying to take it back as close as they can to what it looked like.
Mhm.
Oh my
Well,
gosh. And that photo looks familiar. All right. What
yes.
food item is MacAlpine's famous for?
So it's all the above. So we have a 10-pound Sunday, which we call Legend. That has been on Man vs. Food, but it wasn't a challenge because he said there's no way he could eat 10 pounds of ice cream. So it's just a fun feature. And then we have 99 flavors of soda. The one I really can't recommend is the dill pickle, and I have told people it's terrible, and they order it anyhow. I don't know what to say.
Wow, I think I would not do that just because I'm like, ooh, dill pickle soda. I'm like,
but it really is. It is popular. And then luckily we have 98 other places.
Do they finish it? I guess that's the bigger question.
Sometimes they do. There's some customers that come in specifically for it that really enjoy it. You have to be quite a aficionado.
Indeed.
Indeed. And then then our pies.
Indeed.
They're not really homemade. They're made in the restaurant. But restaurant made doesn't sound quite as cute.
No, but I mean, but handmade because they are indeed handmade.
They're definitely handmade.
And oh my gosh, so tasty.
Well, thank
and
you.
And it was so much fun coming in to pick up the pie because, oh my gosh, I mean, it was like walking in, seeing you, which I hadn't seen you in so long. My friend Brad, Julia, I mean, there were just so many people there, so it wound up just being this great conversation.
That's the fun thing about MacAlpine. You just never know who will be here when we walk through the door.
Indeed. All right. Oh, and then okay. So question 8: how did the Naughty Pecan come to be?
So the Naughty Pecan is our best-selling pie. And this story, I'm kind of intermingling the questions, but years ago, an Amish lady was trained from Indiana, and she spent a month baking with us to develop recipes. So our pie crust is amazing because the Amish lady was just unbelievable. But a few years later, my daughter, who's the baker, entered a pie tasting contest, and she was going to feature her cherry pie, and the cherry pie is just unbelievable. But there was a little glitch because we use a thickener from an Amish market. We have it shipped out for decades, and the Amish had back ordered her thickener, and we just would never expect the Amish to back order. Other people back order. I shouldn't do that. And so she said the night before, I don't know what to do if I make the cherry pie. I won't have enough for customers. So I think what I'll do is make up a new recipe. And I said, don't do that. And no, Mom, it'll be okay. Like, no, seriously, we'll call the Amish lady. We'll have her ship some from her market. We'll be okay. But she said, no, it'll be fine. And so she made up this recipe and featured it. Then on Monday morning, one of the judges called and said, what were you going to call your pie? And she said, I was going to call it Naughty Pecan. And the judge said, it was so naughty, I couldn't stop eating it. So ever since then, it's been Naughty Pecan.
Oh my God, that is so funny.
It's such a good story. And it was just luck of the draw. But even meeting the Amish, we went to the Midwest to see my family, and my brother was sick. So we ended up with my sister and ended up going to a farmer's market in the morning. And this Amish man became friends with him. And then his uncle came out to Phoenix, and we became friends with the uncle and all these different Amish people. And it was luckily one day I was talking to one of the Amish customers and said, we have been trying to make pie, and it's good, but it's not like amazing. And so she said, when I come back next year, I'll ride the train out. I will come and bake with you, and we did. So just such a great story. But now I've ruined the next question.
And but that's okay. Oh, actually, no, because the next question is, which powerhouse woman was a regular at MacAlpine?
Well, we can put the Amish lady down there too. So Joan Gantz Cooney is the lady who started Sesame Street. She lived in the neighborhood. And Aunt Maud is, of course, from Wallace and Lattimore. So if you were up here, you would be, well, Aunt Maud is really Pat McMahon. So Aunt Maud is really amazing. But
so he wouldn't come in just as Aunt Maud. He would come in as himself sometimes.
I don't know if he ever came in as Aunt Maud, but Pat McMahon did come regularly, as did Wallace and Lattimore. So yeah, just because throughout the years, just so many famous people came. Wayne Newton, John McCain. It's kind of a who's who of Arizona. Rose Mofford. Rose Mofford would actually sit at the booth that I'm sitting at right now, and she had great diamond rings, and of course that classic beehive hairdo. It was just the nicest lady. So much history here.
So, since we're talking about famous women who went to McAlpines, what about Winnie Ruth Judd?
Um, I I would assume she went here. I can ask because Mr. McAlpine's great niece was actually friends with Winnie Ruth Judd. So I would say, I'll ask, but I would say chances are quite good that she had graced our doorway. And
Well, yeah,
back
I mean,
in the
because
day, if you think,
I think because you've got right. I mean, I think it's interesting that you've got. I mean, she would have been in the neighborhood. You've got and the fact that just coming up early next year, Phoenix Theater is doing a Winnie Ruth Judd play by
mhm.
Ben Tyler. So, I mean, it's one of those stories that just kind of keeps sticking around and bringing in more and more.
And you have to remember, it was a small town. You didn't have that many choices.
Right.
So just based on the numbers alone, there's a decent chance you would have come here because you didn't have near as many options as you do today.
Right. All right. Oh, and then I know Deb is cheering for this question. So, is McAlpine's haunted?
McAlpine's is haunted. We didn't have a ghost picture, but this is just a fun Christmassy picture of McAlpine's back in the day. So we have ghosts. We have only nice ghosts. Well, there's one that's a little cantankerous, but we don't have any bad ghosts, which we're very happy about.
Right. Right.
So the first time we had been here a very short time. My husband and I had owned McAlpine's a very short period of time, and this lady came in and started talking about the ghosts. And she said, we can try to get rid of them. And she said, none of them are harmful. So we decided to leave the ghosts, let them hang around. But there is a man who sits at one of the back tables, and he just kind of mulls over his coffee. And he's a cantankerous one. And there's a man that sits next to the register named Don. And Don watches over me. And then throughout the years, different customers have seen different things. One day I had the lady who was a little flustered. She said she was watching this gal walk down the aisle, and she was just decked out in vintage. She looked like she was out of the 1940s, and she had the victory rolls, the big
Oh, yeah.
pearls.
Right.
So those were during World War II, and it was a V for victory but she had on the scenes and the victory rolls and the whole 9 yards. And the lady thought it was really cool to walk through a wall. She was a little flustered. And then right next to me in the front here is a 1953 Seabird jukebox. And there's a lady that wears Victorian garb that really likes the jukebox, which is kind of interesting because that would have been way before her era.
Wow. That's really cool.
That is cool.
So, and I love the fact that it's kind of like, and I know at one point with the vintage stuff next door, they were talking about how there sometimes would wind up being a party. You would hear a party going on.
When my grandson was little, he said we had some ghost hunters in, and they had asked him, and he said that they talked to him all the time. And now he's a little bit older; it doesn't really happen. But when he was younger, he said that he would have conversations with them.
Wow.
And like you said, with all the different antiques and lots of history behind all those items.
Indeed, and just in that building, I mean, again, so many people. I mean, since 1929, folks have been coming in to celebrate, to have a little bite of lunch, to meet friends. I mean, lots of good feelings, and so that makes sense. All those energies would be good energies, maybe a little cantankerous now and then, but all in all, good-hearted energies. Because who's going to go to McAlpine and have a bad time?
McAlpine just feels good when you come in.
It does. It's so comfortable when you walk in. I mean, those booths. I mean, that old wood on the booths is just so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then you've got, the counter where you can still sit on a stool and order your dill pickle soda if you might be so inclined.
Or cotton candy or cherry, or we recommend the ice cream sodas.
Understandable.
Or the malts, or lots of fun things.
Right. I mean, there's so much. I mean, what is it? The earthworm one with like the dirt and everything.
It's called the Dirt Sunday, not earthworm, but good try.
Well, because it's got the jelly worms in it.
It has the jelly worms
So,
and then the crushed Oreos, and then we have one that has white Oreos that are crushed, and so we call it sand, and we call it bears at the beach. It has little gummy bears, and the beach
oh,
umbrella, and then little, sixlets, the candy, the little like round M&M kind of things.
right.
Those are the beach balls. It's really cute. I've had it. So as we're working on reopening, that is one of, there's a few things people have been calling saying they miss terribly, and that is one of the things. That and the sloppy joes, the clubhouse, the tuna sandwich. Isn't that crazy? The
Well,
tuna
and
tomato.
I see Ginny's like she misses the egg salad.
Yeah, I've heard that one a lot. And then the Reubens. I've heard the Reubens a lot too. So
Oh, yeah, indeed. All right. Well, I always like to end kind of at least the trivia, just ask people how they did. I mean, Sarah's already on the ball. She did really well. Congratulations, Sarah. So, Monica, how can people find out more about how to help McAlpines open again? Or if they also want to help and buy a pie? Because I know for the holidays, you're going to be having more and more pie.
yes, we will have more and more pie. If they go to McAlpines.com, there's different tabs at the top, so you can order a pie. And like I said, if you want a Christmas pie, order it soon. We are making pies during December. We're making the Naughty Pecan during December, and then right before Christmas. Yes, we've had a lot of requests for that. So it's, if you're looking for a pie to take to your office Christmas party or some kind of dessert, one of my customers, one of the ladies in the Coronado neighborhood calls the Naughty Pecan the pie that will win you Thanksgiving. She takes it to her family Thanksgiving, and they have a contest, and then she wins.
Oh my God, that is so funny. I like that. The pie that wins you Thanksgiving.
Yes, that whatever it takes. Huh? So we'll be selling those throughout December, and then right before Christmas, we'll do an assortment of pies. That will be on the website. Order those soon. We're selling gift certificates that you can use when we reopen. You can use it in the store or in the restaurant. And then we will. We're working on posting a few more expensive things, just to get some fun stuff out there, and then we have the GoFundMe, which is also at McAlpines.com. But anything you can do, McAlpines is so special that we really want to get it reopened, and it's interesting how many people I've talked to who have never been here. So it's amazing, and now they know they better come.
Well, and that's part of the fun of being able to get a pie and going in and pick it up.
It is, yeah. If you order a pie, you can see inside and see all the fun things you've done during the last 3 years.
Right, because I mean, it's even just walking in, it was like there were so many cool things just kind of on display. Mm-hmm. And again, I think I was there for at least a good 45 minutes chatting away with everybody who was walking in, and even meeting folks who I'd never met before. So, see, Sarah, you need to get yourself a pie so that we have to stop in, pick it up. Now, I know you can get it either pre-baked or even get one frozen. So you can take it home and say you made it.
I know a few people that do that. They've told me.
or at least baked. It's like I baked it myself.
And you did.
Indeed, I didn't.
Oh, good. But yes, the thickener that we use that comes from the Amish market, it freezes quite well. And so the pies are really easy to bake. And there's nothing like a freshly baked pie just out of the oven. It makes your house smell amazing. It's just so good.
And what is better with a cup of coffee than a piece of hot pie?
And vanilla ice cream too. Add the vanilla.
A little a la mode is always a good thing.
It is a good thing.
Well, Monica, thank you so much for coming on and sharing about McAlpines and how people can help McAlpines carry on that history, those stories, those memories for so many people walking in those doors.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being on. And we look forward to seeing everybody very soon.
Indeed. So, well, Monica, again, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night. And I'm going to have to go on because I need to get myself another pie before they sell out. Because I don't want to be without a Christmas pie.
That is very true.
All right. Have a good night, Monica.
You too. Thank you, Marshall.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh my gosh, that was so much fun getting to hear all about McAlpines and kind of the history. And so, again, thank you all so much for sticking around. And so, Monica, that was just delightful. And as I'm drinking, I guess we could call this kind of not naughty chai. All right. So, I thought since we were talking about so, now you'll see why I always say, click on that share button because you never really know what we're going to talk about. And see, we get to have so many cool stories. And the fact that you can be a part of helping McAlpines reopen and just continue that history. Oh my gosh. Now, for From the Vault, I thought, since we were talking about restaurants, let's talk about another restaurant that people might remember, a little place called Hobo Joe's. Now, if you're ever out in heading off to LA, you might notice downtown there is a statue. And what I think is really cool is it really is all about Hobo Joe. So basically, it was opened by Applegate. He moved here in the 60s, had kind of a run of working with restaurants, and he decided to open up a coffee shop. And their signature became Hobo Joe. He was kind of a self-described as a world traveler, philosopher, connoisseur of good food. It's funny because he has a Wall Street Journal stuck in one pocket, shoes that are falling down, a little dog on twine. And so that became kind of their symbol. And by the 80s, they were shut down. Actually, Herb had sold them in the 70s. But what I think is interesting is it started really small and then grew really big really quickly to over a dozen throughout the state. There was also an element of where he was kind of embezzling a little bit of money to this lifestyle of the rich and famous. All was coming from Hobo Joe. Mansions, all kinds of this extravagant lifestyle. Now, there was also always debate in terms of was or was it not mafia connected. There was an article written by Don Bowles that said indeed it was. Now, if you go out, you'll find there is I think it's 22 feet of a statue and a parking lot. Let's go back to, so if you're driving out to LA and you decide to take a little stop, you can find a statue right out there. Now, there's debate in terms of was it an official statue because of its size, because all the restaurants had smaller statues. But this one, 22 feet, his wife says it wasn't real, but it sure has all the hallmarks of a real one. And it was recently redone, so it's on display. So go enjoy. And oh my gosh. And so you'll definitely want to come back next week. We have Matt Fisher, who is a local artist, graphic designer. He actually designed the logo for Arizona History Happy Hour. And it was so much fun working with him because he's like, we're breaking so many rules I was taught not to break, but I said, here the customer is right. I knew what I wanted. And so I got just what I wanted. So now remember, I always love to hear from you all. I'd love to hear your stories. If you've got any suggestions as we get ready we're going to continue on a different format coming up next year. But I am happy to say we're going to continue, but it's going to go down to once a month, which I think will be a lot of fun. Have some surprises coming up as well with that. So lots of good stuff there. As we say good night, I always love to give a shout out to Chris and Cole, as well as PJ, who keeps me well lubricated and educated on kind of what's going on around town with beverages. So, as we say goodnight, I always love to throw out a little bit of a video. And so I think tonight what we're going to do is, I was just talking to someone about Mask of the Yellow Moon. Maybe trying to bring an element of it back or two. So we are going to showcase a little video talking about the history of what I think is one of the most amazing events in the Valley's past that most people don't even know ever happened. All right, everybody. I will see you next Thursday. Have a good night.
And speaking of extravaganzas, during most years between 1926 and 55, Phoenix College students joined those of the high schools in the Masque of the Yellow Moon, a music and dance pageant featuring literally a cast of 1,000. Staged at Montgomery Stadium on the Phoenix Union campus, the production often attracted national attention with themes of Americana and Arizona's history and heritage. A marvel of logistics, timing, and dramatic presentation.